They call him the most infamous mass murderer in history, which is true. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. We are finally finishing Alchemised today. Good Lord. We're here today. We're finishing it. This will be part 3 of my recap of this book. We're also gonna dive in just a little bit on like my thoughts and feelings once we reach like the very end. I feel like it's almost kind of nice that it's taken me so long to finish it though, because now everybody's kind of talking about it and we can like have a little bit more discourse now that we've read it and thought about it and sat with it for a little bit. For me, it's been like a month-ish since I finished the book, and going back and like making my script for part 3, it definitely like, I see the flaws. I feel a little differently than I did when I first started it once I got to the end and then processed everything I'd read. That's not to say that I like hated it by any means, but we'll talk. So let's get into it. Hope you guys are doing well. Get a drink, get a snack. Let's get going. Okay, so if you remember, part 1 ends with Helena getting the memory flashes, and then obviously part 2 is all of those memories and lost time that we're finally getting to see on page. Part 3 opens with her sort of coming to terms with all of that slamming back into place in her head, and it's not all of it, and it's not perfect. So we know everything now, and we also know that Kane knows everything now, right? But Helena is still a little foggy, and it's like overlapping. So she has like memories of Kane, and then she has memories of High Reeve Kane, and now they're like this, and she like can't like make sense of it. There's like a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, and when she tries to like look for things that are still lost in her memory, she gets really bad headaches. She ends up having seizures a couple times. So that's sort of the beginning of her recovery period, and she's still pregnant. Absolute hell. Like, get me out of here. That first moment when she like comes back to herself after the memory flashes have slammed in, we get to see her see Kane properly for the first time, and she remembers him. Like, now she knows exactly who he is, so that makes sense to her. But again, the cognitive dissonance makes it a little messy. But when she sees him, she's like, oh my god, that's Kane, I love him. And she thinks to herself, like, he looks the same, he's a little older, what's going on? And so again, that's where it starts to get funky, because it's like almost as if she just saw him at the end of the war, but now 2 years have gone by. So she just can't compute the two things, but she knows that she trusts him, and she knows that she misses him, and she loved him. So it's like very confusing for her, because the whole time she's been with him in captivity, she had no knowledge. Like, all she remembered was that he was like kind of a bully in school. So it's just like all awful for her. And on his end, he's sort of just like, yeah, like, he doesn't know what to do either, because it's like he can't erase what has happened between the two of them during the bad times, but then also he looked for her and he missed her and he wanted to be with her again too. So it's just a mess. It's just all around really bad for both of them. In this first conversation, he confirms that it was him the whole time. So he was the one using the obsidian. There was never another member of the order like back alive or anything like that. It was always him. He was working from the inside. Which also means that he was being tortured and stuff for not finding anybody, knowing damn well it was himself doing the murders and things. He also tells her that Lila is not dead, so he did bring a body back and put it up at the outpost, and that's like the one that in the beginning, I can't remember if it was, what was her name, Grace? Maybe Grace? She was kind of irrelevant, but that girl that told her about it in part 1, the body was like rotting away at the outpost, that was not Lila. That was never Lila. He just like faked it. So Lila is safe, the baby is safe, and he has plans to get Helena to them now. We also get confirmation that the pregnancy itself is what made these barriers break down in her mind. So she was basically doing that, I don't want to call it a spell, but like the procedure she was gonna do on Titus, she did it to herself, and now that was running the whole time in her brain, like a constant little array of magic in there. And then obviously now she's pregnant, so her body's like magic system is sort of being pulled in two directions, and it prioritized the baby and making sure the pregnancy was going well. So all the stuff in her brain just broke down, and now that's why she is dealing with this. She recovers really, really slowly, like I said, and she starts to like put different things together, which we've already sort of come to terms with at this point, but now it hits her that she designed the manacles that Shiseo put on her. So in that moment, she feels even more like he's a traitor because he took the information that she gave him that they were both like horrified by, and he flipped and started using it for Moro and stuff. Kane is, surprise, surprise, mad at her again, but he doesn't want to explain why because he's afraid of making her have more memory flash attacks. Like I said, like she has the seizures if she starts thinking about things too hard. So she is forgetting part of what happened with their goodbye at this point, and he doesn't want to explain that that's where like his anger and resentment is coming from. All she knows is that she blew up the lab, and so she's assuming she must have blown it up for him, and that must be why he's so angry. But then that kind of annoys her because she's like, again, why are you allowed to like be so overprotective about me, but I can't do that back to you? Like, we are the same. Why can't we just both admit that? What's going on? She tells him that she used to promise to take care of him when he was sleeping, and he's like, no, I did that to you. And she's like, okay, so somebody wasn't paying attention because I did it back. No take backsies, okay? We're the same brand of insane. So like I said, she's mad at Shiseo, but Kane explains that the only reason why he joined Moro and agreed to like put the manacles on and stuff was so potentially he could find Helena. So he was hopeful that being like the best at that job would get him brought in for like any special cases, and she would be a special case. So the boys have been working together this whole time. I was real hyped to see Shiseo again. Yeah, but apparently they've been working together, so we can assume that like when Kane came back to the hotel room and Shiseo was probably still there, and or Kane just tracked him down again, yeah, they've just been sort of tag teaming looking for her this whole time, which I loved. I thought that was a really cute detail. Also, I'm glad he didn't kill him, because I kind of expected that. Like the first read through, I was like, I bet he went back and saw that Shiseo let her go and then he killed Shiseo, but he didn't. So small wins. He's gonna come down from Novus and then pick Helena up and then help her get to Lila at least part of the way. Kane does not mention whether or not he's gonna go, so you can go ahead and start assuming how you think that's gonna go down. As she gets more comfortable, they finally start talking about like the harder things, you know, like the fact that he's married now. And when she says that to him, he's like, yeah, I guess I am. It was ordered, like I didn't want to. And he like makes that very clear that like the things he said about like it being a loveless marriage, not touching Aurelia ever, like that is true. He had nothing to do with her the whole time they were like forced into the marriage. And it's one of my favorite details because it confirms like a theory, to me at least, that people have had, where if you read part 1, the scene, or I guess it's part 2, but the scene where they exchange the rings and everything, like that first meeting in the shack together, it very much could be viewed as a wedding. And for somebody like Kane, who is so possessive and so like intense with stuff, it makes sense because they exchanged vows, they exchanged rings, and they sealed it with a kiss. She tries to get him to agree in this moment that he will for sure be coming with her and Lila south when the time comes, and he's being super evasive. Like, he's been evasive this whole time. You know, he's been avoiding trying to talk about hard things because he doesn't want to make her sicker. But in this moment, he's just sort of like, yeah, if that's what you want, if that's what you want, if you want it, like, what do you want? To die? But that... he's depressed, okay? I don't know what to tell you. It starts to click for her that he's managing things. He's still micromanaging her environment, micromanaging her emotions, trying to handle her the way that he's been doing this whole time she's been in captivity. He's not quite himself, even though he's 100% nice now. Like, he is not being mean to her anymore at all, other than like the avoidant tendencies, but he's not like bullying her. All of that has stopped immediately now that she knows who he is. And so he feels more like the person she remembers, but she can tell that he's hiding things still, and he's still lying, which is the person she remembers. When has he not been a liar? He is really trying though to like keep her happy and bring her back to herself. So at one point he like takes her to the library because it's this huge, beautiful, like, you know, old money mansion style library. And it is gorgeous. And she is so excited to see so many books and stuff, but it's again, like a huge space and there's all this like darkness and shadows. And she's like, I can't go in there. I can't do that. And so she has to like backtrack and go back to her room. And she tells him that she's so sorry that he's having to see her like that because she knows it's irrational and she wishes she could be more normal and more like her old self too, because obviously if it's hard for her to see him dealing with stuff, it's hard for him to see her dealing with stuff. Like they're both sort of so scarred and they deal with so much PTSD and it's hard on both of them to see that unfolding. She even does the hey, be careful, don't die goodbye in this moment to sort of like ease the tension between them. And again, he's like, yeah, right, okay. Like it's just not working. Like they can't get back to what they had because there's so much awful in between the good and the bad. Finally, it clicks for her that he's gonna sacrifice himself. That's why he won't say, yes, babe, I'm going south with you. He won't actually tell her that because he's not. He's going to stay home and he's going to sacrifice himself so that Morrow can finally be taken down. Because if the High Reeve is destroyed, then that would mean that Morrow has no one protecting him because they're not really afraid of the army. Like the Undying have been proven to be killable now. So nobody's afraid. Like Morrow can probably be taken down. And so the High Reeve is the only thing that still instills fear in people. And if they can take him out, it's over. She obviously doesn't want that. And she's like, you need to come with me. We're supposed to run away together. We're supposed to have a happy ending after the war. That has been our plan the entire time. And he's like, babe, the plan changed. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a monster. I don't know if you noticed, but I did horrible, terrible, unforgivable things to you. I can't be normal anymore. We can't have a normal life. That's not gonna happen. He's also disgusted with himself and dealing with like a crazy shame spiral over the fact that he didn't look for her hard enough. And she says, you did everything you could. You looked everywhere for me. And he's like, and he literally starts like laughing. And he's like, yeah, everywhere but where it mattered. And it turns out that he was in the freaking facility with the tanks. Ugh, he was there. He just didn't look hard enough. And for somebody as obsessive as he is, like, you know, that's eating him alive. That she was just in a tank. She was close, y'all. She was right there in a tank and he just didn't look in the right spot. Like, woof, that's bad. So yeah, his plan is to let her go and then let Morrow get mad at him for losing her, so he'll get himself killed and then Mars' regime will fall and the other countries will hopefully swoop in and kill him and handle it. And Helena will be off safe and Kane will be dead. This killed me because when she's putting it together, he's like trying to lie his way out of it, but she's like not having it. Like now that her brain is like back online, she's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Nope, one more time. Tell me again, that doesn't make any sense. What? Pointing out all the little cracks in his story. And he's finally just like, you know, I had really hoped the library would keep you busy for at least a week. My man is tired. He's so tired. So she freaks out about the fact that he's gonna try to die again for her. And he's like, girl, this is what I deserve. After everything I did to you, that's what I deserve. He says, this is the best I can do, Helena. I'm sorry. I know it's never been enough for you. I know you want to save everyone. You always do. Unfortunately, that's not a talent I possess. At least this way you'll see the war ended. I can give you that. Of course, they argue about what the best thing to do here is, and he says, you know, you told me you would do whatever I wanted if I got you Lila, and I did. So you owe me that promise. And she's like, hold on. I promised to save you first. So now they counteract, and he's like, oh my God. Like, he literally tells her that she's like the worst promise keeper he's ever met because she makes so many conflicting promises that in any given situation she can just pick and choose which ones she wants. And he's like, that's so unfair. That's like the most unfair thing in the entire world, and I hate it. And I just don't know what he expected because like, that is so true. She has been like that the entire time. She has never done a damn thing she told him she was gonna do. Why would she start now, my man? So she's relentless that they have a few months left and she should at least be able to look for a new solution. You know, she might not be able to find one, but he should allow her to look over the research, to plan, and to see what can be done to get him away from the link with Morrow so that hopefully he could run away. He does give in because in the same way that she never does anything he says, he can't not do anything she says. So he gives in and they compromise so that she's allowed to work as long as it doesn't overwhelm her. After this moment, she wants him to stay and sleep in the bed with her, which they have not been doing. You know, he's obviously been coming and going from her room, but he doesn't stay, except for when she was so sick, and then he was like sitting at her bedside constantly, but she only sort of half remembers that. He doesn't want that. He's like, that's a terrible idea. Why would I do that? No, I need to leave. I can't be in your room. That's, no. But she swears that she needs to get used to him again because, again, the cognitive dissonance. Like, she remembers loving him. She knows that she loves him, but she also remembers him being very mean for the last couple months. So she's like, we have to sort of fix that because now I need to remember that you're not awful. So he does sit with her and they're like holding hands, I think, or she might be like rubbing on his hand again because they do that for comfort. And his hands are so shaky, like his tremors are crazy now. She asks why he's not healing anymore, and he explains that Morrow is pulling on them more because there's less undying, and again, because Cain is so powerful, he kind of yanks on him the most, but he's not sure why his hands are so bad. She apologizes for everything he's been through, and he's immediately like, can we knock it off with the you saying you're sorry for things you didn't do, because I need to apologize to you and I don't even know where to start on that, so just stop until I can figure out how I want to say that I'm sorry for months of abuse, babe. She swears that she'd go through all of it again if it meant saving him, and he's like, you didn't save me, you just put us both in hell for 2 years. He's not wrong, right? Like, he's not wrong, but that obviously hurts her feelings a little. She also knows he's right. So at least they're past, like, being mean and then, like, not accepting responsibility for their actions, I guess. I don't know. And she also points out that, you know, yes, technically, but also he shouldn't have assumed at the end of the war that she was going to be okay with losing him. So when he went and saved Lila for her and it blew his cover, he should have just not saved Lila. like he should have known that he was supposed to be more important. And he points out, girl, you told me the whole time that I wasn't that important to you and that you were never going to be able to pick me. And she's like, I was lying. Oh, there's so much that just kills me because they have such similar wounds and they just didn't talk about the truth of them ever. They just both assumed that the other one knew and then they never said it. At this moment now, he still hasn't said I love you. We know he does because, like, duh. But she said it the one time and she hasn't said it again. All she did was write it in a note, right? So we know he knows that she did feel that way for him. And we know that internally she still does, but they're not saying it. No one talks. This book is so long for you guys to not have one meaningful conversation. She wakes up the next morning to find him still holding her hand, but he is asleep on the floor beside the bed, which I did love. Mental image of that, so cute. He's literally just like slumped backwards on the mattress, like still holding her hand. So cute. 10 out of 10. He's so tall. I know that wasn't comfortable. So she looks down at him and mouths like that she's always gonna protect him, and because they are insane freaks, he wakes up instantly and is like, are you okay? What's wrong? Y'all gotta knock it off. She does have a headache though, and somehow he knew that immediately, and she's like, I'm fine, don't worry about it. He takes off her manacles because remember there's like a cuff and then the bar goes through her wrist, so he takes the bar out so that her resonance can still go up and down her arm. It's muted though, but she can at least feel it. If she doesn't keep the manacles on, then Morrow would be able to see through the little eyeball cameras, so they have to make it look like she's still tied up even though she's not anymore. She starts her research mission, but because she doesn't have all of her memories back, the parts of her that remember how to do alchemy, that understand arrays, that's not quite locked back in yet, so it gives her headaches. It makes her really uncomfortable to be reading about it because it's like she knows that she's intelligent and she has this stuff in her memory, but it's not back yet, so she can't use any of it, and it's just like making her sicker. Around this time, he starts making comments about how he knows she's not going to keep the baby, and he's like, you know, at least your vivimency will be back, and you know, you can do what you need to do. It's a very simple procedure, I've been told. Should be quick and easy, and it'll be fine. You'll have Lila, she can help you, you know, no big deal. And Helena's like, I don't want to terminate the pregnancy. And he's like, yes, you do. Of course you do. And she's like, no. Why would I do that? And he's like, why wouldn't you do that? Why would you keep it? Don't keep it. If you want to have kids, go have kids with somebody else. And she's like, I want your kid. I want us to have kid. And he's like, no, that's crazy. So they go back and forth on that for a bit. And she explains to him that, like, regardless of what happened, how it happened, it's their baby. And she does love him. So, like, it's a mess, yes, but she could never not want the baby. And even if she did lose it, she would wonder constantly about, like, what it would look like. Whose hair would it have? Whose eyes would it have? Like, which resonance type would it get? Or would it be normal? Plus, she'd want to tell the baby all about him because she's never been able to tell anybody about him before. That one got me. That one got me. I understand why he broke. That was a really sweet thing for her to say. So yes, he's moved by this, but he also doesn't want her to, like, drag their awful past with her into her new future. And so again, he's like, have kids with somebody else. Don't keep mine. She promises that while obviously it is very messy and there's a lot of stuff for them to work through, what happened to them hurt both of them. It wasn't a good, easy thing for him, okay? Like, yes, it was awful and traumatic, but, like, they need to deal with it together and move forward because they were both hurt by it. He starts to break down, finally, and she's like, yes! And so she, like, brings it home and quickly is like, I love you. By the way, I love you. So then he totally snaps, and he's crying, and he kisses her finally, and he says, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for everything I did to you. I love you. You left, and I never told you. They got me there. A few days later, Helena wakes up to the servants, like, frantically cleaning up her workstation. Turns out Stroud is coming, so Kane has to, like, very quickly, like, put her manacles back on properly, and then they bring Stroud into the room. She's as awful as ever. Hate that woman. Thankfully, Kane is even more vicious with her now because Helena knows who he is, so he's, like, not even sort of hiding that he's protecting Helena at this point. She does the exam on the baby and announces with disgust that it's female. So that's going to make Morrow really unhappy because at this point we know for sure that he is going to take the baby and then harvest its whole body and make a new body for himself. But he was obviously wanting a boy, so now they're going to have to try again. Kane and Helena don't care. We don't obviously know his POV reaction, but he, like, he doesn't seem upset one way or another. He's just more concerned with the fact that Stroud thinks that as the pregnancy goes on, Helena's going to get sicker and sicker. So he wants to avoid that if possible. They go for a walk after this, and he just starts talking about the grounds, and he tells her about, like, a tree that he hid in as a boy, and he refused to come down, and he made his mom come out of the house even though she was sick, and now he feels bad about it because he shouldn't have, like, pulled her out of bed, but he just wanted her attention because he loved her so much. And then they go past the pond, and then he, like, points off in the distance, and he's like, there's a pond over there that I used to, like, play with the frogs. I used to think I could, like, train them to do tricks when I was little. And then he, like, looks up at the house, and he's like, we should go up into the spires. I bet I would remember more if I could, like, see the whole thing. Keep in mind, this man don't talk. When have you ever heard him share a detail about himself? He doesn't do that. So this is, she's like, what? It's just paragraphs. It's just, like, paragraphs of these memories. And it hits her that he's telling her things for her to tell the baby. So this is him accepting that she is going to keep the baby, and also that he's not going to be there to watch her raise the baby. So he's trying to give her what she wants and share details about himself. And so she agrees in this moment that Enid, which is his mother's name, would be... Okay. So she agrees in this moment that Enid, which is his mother's name, would be an excellent name for the baby. So, cute. Now that they're getting closer and also running out of time, she really wants to sleep with him again because obviously she wants to, like, rewrite over what the last memories are because she knows that they were together before and she has some memories of that. And so she knows that it was good and things were fine with them and she felt safe with him. And then obviously the bad times, and now there's this. And he's super hesitant because he's like, that feels like a horrible thing with your PTSD. We shouldn't do that ever. I shouldn't be allowed to touch you ever again. But she insists that it's like what she wants to do. So he ruminates on it in the way that he does. He goes off for a little while, and when he comes back the next time, and he hasn't seen her for a few days, they nearly hook up. But it does trigger her. She tells him to stop. He stops immediately. She calms down really quickly, all things considered, because again, she does trust him now. So it's just that the old memories flare up and it's PTSD that she can't control, but she knows that he's not going to hurt her anymore. He, on the other hand, visceral reaction to it. He's like, see, I knew that we're not allowed to do that ever again. No more. This is also when she sees the extent of his scars for the first time. He's been through it. Like, these 2 years have been insane. She asks what Morrow has been doing to him, and he just quietly is like, whatever he wants. And we can tell that that's true. Knowing that she's running out of time, Helena forces herself into the locked room where the cage and like the array embedded in the floor are. That is the room where obviously his mother was tortured. It's probably like Bennett's lab or whatever. It's never like explicitly said, but that's what the room is. Davies tries to stop her in this moment, and then she refuses to go inside. But Helena's like, I have to see for myself. I have to try. She goes in, she starts trying to work out the array and figure out if there's a way to like reverse it or undo at least parts of it, but it's very complicated, and also she gets her headaches still, so she ends up passing out inside the room. She wakes up in her bed again, and Kane is like, I told you, you're done, no more. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I passed out because I finally figured it out. So her heart is very weak right now because of the pregnancy. That doesn't really have anything to do with her head. That's like a separate thing that is draining her a little bit, similarly to what happened to his mom, right? So when she was in the room and she was looking at everything, she got so overwhelmed with excitement because she was figuring it out. So she passed out because her heart just like freaked out on her. He nearly died himself, finding her passed out in the room where his mom had been tortured for months and months and months. So you can imagine how he's like, I don't care. I don't care anymore, okay? I can't handle you maybe dying for me. So we're not gonna do this anymore, we're done. But again, when has he ever been able to deny her anything? So they immediately fall into a compromise, and she is allowed to keep researching on this new plan, but he has to be there with her, so she can only do it when he's around. Kane and Aurelia have to throw another party to like put on a unified front and show off that everything is fine. And to his annoyance, Stroud is there, and she insists on like showing Helena off to the crowd to prove that her work is so important, and Morrow is like so proud of what they're doing in the house. The crowd doesn't respond well to the fact that Morrow is planning to take a baby's body. Like, that doesn't sound great. Sounds like they're gonna have a baby for a leader, so nobody likes that, even though Stroud is trying to explain, like, no, it's not the baby's body. Like, he's not gonna put himself in the baby's body. He's gonna use the baby's body to make a new body. Nobody is listening to me, and nobody is listening to her because it's a room full of idiots. Like, you have a dumb army. They don't understand what you're saying. They're stupid. Then it comes out that Kane is the father of the baby, and Aurelia just loses her shit. I thought she knew. Girly Pop, I thought you knew the whole time. What do you mean you didn't realize that's what was going on? She's not dumb, okay? We've seen her not be stupid, so I don't know how she didn't know, but she didn't know. Or maybe she'd been ignoring it. Whatever. The whole room knows now, though, and so all the men are like, we knew it, and it's gross. Helena's so uncomfortable. She's about to black out. Kane's about to kill everyone, and then Aurelia starts screaming and throwing a fit and kicks everybody out, and Kane forces them out with his resonance, which is not what he was supposed to do. This was supposed to be like diplomatic and calm, and everybody was supposed to be like, you know, soothed so that it doesn't feel like anything is wrong, and now it looks like Kane is showing off and being a bully, which is what he is, so I don't know why anybody thought he'd behave. When the group is leaving, though, Helena sees Ivy in the crowd, and Sophia, her dead sister, is with her. Ew. We find out in this moment that Kane is being stripped of his titles, so he is no longer the one that is being trusted to hunt down the supposed members of the resistance. Now his dad is doing that. So his dad is staying with them, and it leads to a ridiculous amount of like torture and, you know, bodies being brought into the house, and really gross stuff is going down now because his dad is just a freaking maniac. So there's just screaming. Aurelia's back in the house and she's being annoying, and then the dad's killing people in the parlor, and it's all around. It's not fun for them. So their relationship starts to feel strained because all of that is happening, right? And then also Helena is using all of her time and effort and energy to pour into figuring out this new plan, and all Cain wants to do is hold her. He's like, we have to say goodbye so soon. I would love to just get some time with you. And she can't do it because she wants to work and figure out how to save him. So he's just sort of like caving in on himself with the like anticipatory grief of waiting on saying goodbye and losing her. And when she finally realizes that that's happening, she starts putting her research away and spending more time with him, thank God. She does finally discover that the way to like undo what's been done to him would mean taking his soul away from Morrow, breaking that binding, but it would be so fragile that it would have to be rebound to another living, willing soul. So sort of like the reverse, because what Morrow did was like binding multiple unwilling lives to Cain, and then Cain to him to like draw, like triangulate the power and stuff, you know. This would be sort of like undoing all of that and then stabilizing Cain, because his soul would be so fragile and weak. But in order to do any of it, they need that piece of bone. So they have to take the bone away from Morrow somehow. And obviously you can't get close to him because he's so powerful. So she's like, maybe we could make another bomb and try to blow him up and then get to him that way. But neither of them have steady enough hands for that kind of thing. So it's just not going to happen. She's frantically trying to think of things, and he hits her with, Helena, I'm tired. This is when it really hits her, like how down bad he's gotten. And I mean, our boy's depressed. Like, we've known that off and on the whole time, but like, he's really unwell. It's not good. So this is when she starts hiding her work from him. So he's aware that she's still trying to figure out a solution, but at least when they're alone, he's getting to spend time with her the way that he wants. The sadness that she's feeling gives way to anger. And for a hot minute there, she's real mean to him. And they just keep having fights and arguments that he just lets happen because he knows that it would be easier if she was mad at him when she goes to leave. And then when she realizes that, she's sad again. One afternoon, Ivy just shows up, just breaks into the house to save her, and is immediately locked inside the bedroom with her. Like, Iron just locks the room, seals it shut. So she is losing her touch as a little spy, because why did you think that was a good idea? She thought that Helena was obviously like being tortured and stuff, and she didn't realize that any of this was okay with her. And so when she saw that like the pregnancy had happened and she was being hurt in that way, she was like, no, I have to make up for what I did and go save her because she's nice. But now obviously she's trapped. And when she comes closer to Helena, Helena's like, I wouldn't do that. Okay, the last time somebody tried to do this, he crushed them before he could even get back inside the house. And Ivy's like, he did what? And recognizes her as Ivy, and she's like, I'm surprised you didn't know me already. I'm the little girl that you couldn't kill all those years ago. Yes, so that family that was brought in and like tortured in front of him, and he was supposed to kill the little girl with the braids, that was Ivy. He didn't do it, and because he didn't do it, she was able to get away, kill her own mother, who was killing the sister, and get Sophia out of there. So her and Sophia escaped and are alive because of Cain. Helena doesn't want to kill her, and she thinks that they should trust her and let her try to get the little piece of bone, because she lives closer to Morrow and is in there with him and should maybe be able to use her thief skills to get close enough to snatch it. Ivy agrees because she's miserable and she just wants to do something good to sort of make up for everything she's done at this point, because she knows Sophia would be disappointed in her. Cain takes her to meet with Amaris again, which was a really cute scene. We get confirmation that, if you'll remember, back in like the very beginning of part 1, when Helena showed up to the house, there was like howling and stuff, and she didn't know what it was. She just assumed it was a monster. It was Amaris. She knew that Helena was on the grounds and she was crying for her because she recognized the scent and everything and she wanted to see her again. And so that also means that like when Helena went into the barn accidentally and almost got like eaten, Amaris probably wasn't gonna attack her. She would have recognized her and backed off and been like, oh my god, Mom, what are you doing here? The reunion goes well because Amaris and Cain have that weird link with each other. So he loves Helena, which means Amaris loves Helena. So she's safe with her. And the plan is for Helena to ride Amaris halfway there to where Lila is and then leave her behind. Because if they take her with them to like the final location, she's the last of the like chimeras running around. So she would be very easily trackable. And also she's obviously the High Reeve's pet. Helena really hates that plan because if you'll remember, Amaris needs like special care with their vivimancy because her ligaments and muscles and things aren't put together correctly. But Cain is like, well, you know, she's done growing, I think, so hopefully she'll be able to handle her own in the wild. She knows how to hunt. She should be okay, maybe, I hope. He quietly tells Amaris, we'll go out together, won't we, old girl? Bennett's last monsters. Woof. On the way back into the house, Aurelia meets them like in the gravel front driveway area, and she's just complaining about how his dad is just murdering people. In the parlor, in the hallway, like there's just blood everywhere. There's screaming everywhere. It smells bad. He's not cleaning up after himself. She's like, this is ridiculous, okay? Like, I get that he has to be doing this. Why is he in the house? Why can't he do it in the backyard? Why can't we build him something to do it in? Like, what is going on? Why don't you care? This is your family home. This is supposed to be where we live. Can you get it together, please? And Cain is like, oh, I don't give a shit about this house. I don't give a shit about you. If you have a problem, go to the freaking city apartment, okay? Because I don't need you here. I don't care. Go away. They're arguing so loudly that his dad hears the commotion and like comes outside and joins in. And the dad like joins in a little bit and is basically like berating him for like not already having an heir and stuff like that. And Aurelia thinks he's agreeing with her and taking her side. So she launches into another monologue and she's like, that's what I'm saying. I've done everything. I've been the perfect wife. I've taken care of the house. I've taken care of him. I've taken care of this. I've taken care of that. I'm just like your wife. And even now, and before she can finish her sentence, the dad just turns around and just eek. No warning, just yep. So she bleeds out in the gravel, right? And he's looking down at her and he's like, don't ever compare yourself to my wife. She won't, buddy. She can't anymore. You made sure of that. Helena is stunned into silence and Cain's just like, oh, well, I hope you're gonna handle that with her parents considering you just broke the marriage contract. Like, the fuck, Dad? His dad says that it doesn't matter because they both know he was never gonna have a baby with her anyway. But after this is over, Cain has to pick somebody to marry and pick someone to have kids with because this is getting out of hand. He needs to give them grandchildren. When they go back inside, Helena is like, you did that. You orchestrated that happening. Oh my God. And Cain's like, of course I did. Of course I did, babe. She was a loose end. We can't have any of those, okay? She had to go, and it couldn't be me, because how am I going to talk my way out of that one, okay? My dad is irrational. I can just say that he lost his temper, because you saw him. He's crazy. We have another moment of her being like, I wish you didn't kill for me. I bring out the worst in you. I make you such a bad person. You wouldn't go so far if it wasn't for me. And he's like, yeah, welcome. Duh. They argue again about how unfair it is that he wants to die and she needs him alive and with her in order to be happy. And if he wants to make her happy, that should be his priority, is keeping himself alive. But in the middle of it, Morrow just suddenly calls for him with like a buzzing alarm in the house, which is not normal. That's not typically what he does anymore. So Cain has to rush off because it's clearly an emergency. When he returns, we find out that the Novus convoy that we were waiting on with Shisio has been attacked and everyone was killed. Before you ask, they sent his head in a basket for confirmation. So yeah, our boy Shisio is gone and we will never see him again. He was barely here. This really rattles Cain because his plan is getting messed with. And as we know, he's obsessive, so he doesn't like when that happens. She immediately thinks that it means that the plan has unraveled completely now, and so she will just get to die with him, and thank God, at least she'll be with him. That's better for her. And he's like, oh no, babe, you're still going. Amaris can handle it. I taught her the route. You'll be fine. Things get real bad after that, as if they have not already been the trenches of hell. One night, Cain comes home after having to do like a display of power for Morrow, and he killed so many people. So many people. He can't even think of the number. It says something like, she asks him how many, and he starts going like, trying to like calculate in his head, and he's like, so many. Like so many people. So that was bad, really bad for him. He's like shell shocked after it because it's just so much death that he's done at once. And I just want you to think about how many people he's already killed. So for it to rattle him that badly, that's rough. She's feeling worse and worse as well because she can't do anything for him. So they just both feel helpless. Like they're totally trapped in this situation. There seems to be no way out, and it just continues to get worse. Stroud comes huffing and puffing into the house one day, saying that she's actually going to take Helena with her to the hospital, back to like Central, and look after her there because she's the most vital asset in the repopulation program, and she needs to be looked after directly by Stroud. And Cain is like, you can pry her out of my cold, dead hands, you crazy woman. Get out of my house. You cannot have her. Stroud throws a fit about this and gets him in trouble with Morrow because of course she does. So he comes home from that meeting horrifically injured. Amaris brings him home and he like collapses in the yard with her. So Amaris is like circling him in the yard, calling for Helena quietly because no one else can come help. It's nighttime though, which means that Helena has to face her fear of being in the dark because the house is dark, and then obviously outside in the yard, pitch black. So the Necrothralls do help her a little bit, but she does have to get out through the middle of the open yard to him on her own. Amaris, thankfully, because they're connected too, is comforting for her. So it's like she's able to handle it, and it's like a big moment for her working through those fears. Cain is delirious when he wakes up in her room. He's been so badly injured that he can't see. So that's real bad for him because he's a control freak. So he wakes up blind and he's like, oh, what's going on? Where am I? Even in this state, when he realizes that Helena is the one helping him, he asks if she's okay. He's too hurt to take the manacles off of her, so she has to do everything to him manually, which is good because it's sort of like getting her muscle memory back, helping her remember how to do things properly. And she is able to like get him stable and fix him as best she can. He explains as he starts to get more lucid that it was punishment for the kills that he just did. So Morrow gave him those orders to kill all those people. He did that. Ruined him, and now he was punished by Morrow for those murders because he should have foreseen that Hevgos was going to think it was barbaric and awful and pull out of the war effort. So now Palladia is completely alone. They have no allies. We find out what they did to him, which was Morrow ripped his heart out just like he did with Apollo, and he said the worst part of that was actually just like it growing back in his chest. They also did something bad to his spine, like they may have torn his spine out, and that's why he went blind. And she lets him sleep for a really long time. He wakes up again. He's still mostly blind, but it is getting better. His body does still heal. It just takes forever because again, Morrow is like pulling on his strength more than normal. He's worried about his dad finding him in her room, so he's like, I'm fine, I'm recovered enough, you know, I'll go sleep in my own room, it's whatever, I'll be fine. And then he's so spooked by this happening that he's like, you have to leave tonight, by the way, get prepared. Since the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, his dad doesn't have a single chill bone in his body. And when Cain leaves this time, he goes up to her room and lights the room on fire because there's iron in the walls. So he burns the wood away and then is talking to her through the molten metal bars, keeping her trapped inside. Why wouldn't he do that? Why? Of course. So he remembers her now, and he knows that she must be the secret resistance fighter. She's not, obviously. It's freaking Cain. There is no one else. But he's so manic that he's not letting it go, and he's threatening to just roast and toast her. He's like, Morrow will forgive me because he's not going to want the baby that he needs to come from you if you've been the bad guy all along. And she's like, I'm not the bad guy. You're insane. She recognizes, though, the crazy in him as being what is wrong with Cain as well. And so she's like, oh, I get it. And she puts two and two together that he must also be under pressure, and that's why he's so manic in this moment. So she's like, hold on. Did they attack Cain as punishment for you not finding the resistance person yet? So are you telling me that if you don't find them, they'll kill him? Is that what this is? Is that why you're so insane? Somehow she's right. I guess our girl is smart again, you know, so she's correct. He's not really admitting it though, but she knows she's right because, again, apple tree situation, she sees Cain in him and she understands that that's what this is. So she starts pushing his buttons even more by reminding him that, like, Cain looks like Enid, like they have the same eyes. I think it's his smile too is the same, something like that. So he obviously can't give up on Cain completely because he needs that memory of Enid alive, but at the same time looking at Cain is really difficult for him because it makes him remember her and losing her and all of that. And then she admits to blowing up the lab to protect Cain because he was the spy all along. Now he really thinks that she's lying, but she convinces him by, like, reaching through the bars and forcing memories into him so that he can see from her point of view all of her time with Cain. Not all of it, but, like, a lot of her time with Cain, and, like, prove that she's telling the truth. The smoke overtakes them and she passes out, but Cain does get to them in time. He manages to heal her, and his dad also makes it out because obviously his dad is, like, in a zombie body, right? So, like, he's kind of fine. They all escape the house, and while they're out in the yard and, like, the house is burning down, his dad is, like, raging at him because now he knows the truth about his mother for the first time. We were right in assuming that his dad just didn't know because he would not have agreed to do the things for Morrow had he known that Morrow killed Enid. And he's livid. He's like, I cannot believe you kept that from me. I cannot believe you let me make myself look so stupid. Like, why didn't you think I would want to know? Of course I would want to know. It would have changed everything. And the thing there is, like, Cain knew that. Like, he knew that. He told... it's just such a mess, right? It's just such a mess. He had resentment where he's like, you know, you left us and then they hurt her for you. And so I kind of understand that. But then at the same time, he had to know. And he did know. Like, he told Helena at one point, like, if my dad had known the truth, like, he would have come back or he would have done things differently, right? So why didn't you tell him? What stopped you from telling him? Y'all could have bonded and he could have been helping you this whole time. Bro. So they end up almost getting into a fight, but Cain is, like, end of his rope level angry now. So he just backhands his dad, throws him across the yard in one direction, rips his, like, ignition fire rings off in the other direction. So his dad's just, like, on the ground, very injured. And then before they can start round two, Ivy shows up in a lorry, just, like, blaring the horn. She got the bone shard. Sophia was able to get to Morrow because he doesn't watch the necrothralls, because why would he do that? So she was able to sneak up, snatch the arm, give the arm to Sophia, or give the arm to Ivy, and then Ivy got in the truck and raced over to them. So now they have the bone shard that they need. They don't kill Ivy, but Cain does give her a knife. So we're under the impression that Ivy is going to go and handle that, probably kill Sophia and then kill herself, is what we're led to believe. So Cain wants her to leave immediately. He's like, this is perfect. This is a great distraction. We'll use me as bait. You can get out right now. But his dad is on the ground, right? Like, tied up on the ground with the iron, listening to all of this. And now he knows that they need a willing soul to make the bone shard thing work. And he's like, hello? Are you not even gonna ask me? Cain is like, oh, for fuck's sake. Get wrecked, my man. I'm not going to trust you to do that for me. And his dad is like, it's what your mother would want. Like, that's the only thing I can give you now is helping you. So yeah, I'll do it. Helena is thrilled. She's like, say less. Let's start right now. This is perfect. This is exceptional news. I'm so excited. She is horrifically burned. Let me remind you, okay, when the dad and her were arguing through the iron, he lit her on fire. Okay, so Cain has to heal that first. So much happens. Cain heals that for her and then sort of entertains the concept of maybe talking to his dad. He's not going to do it because Apple Tree, they got way too much pride. So that's not gonna come out of his mouth. But she's like, let me talk to him. I'll get him to agree, I promise. But again, because they are so stubborn, when she goes to talk to his dad, he's like, I'm not gonna talk to you. If he doesn't wanna ask me himself, I'm not gonna do it. And she's like, well, then I guess he's gonna die. I guess he's gonna die and you're gonna lose the one thing that your wife left behind in this world. Is that really what you want? Because that's what you're about to have. They have to go up into the torture room. His dad sees the cage for the first time and it really sets in that like he done fucked up. So he's totally with it with this plan. He's ready to do what he needs to do. Cain and Helena start the array and activate it in the floor. She has to take apart, like I said, the binding of his soul to the servant's souls. So one by one, all of those necrothralls start to drop and are finally at peace. Davies is the last one to go, and she has another semi-cognizant moment of like making eye contact with Helena as if she's sort of aware. We don't ever get confirmation on that, full stop. If it's like, yes, Cain did such a good job with them that they were partially still alive, we don't know. We don't know, but I kind of think he did. This is around the time Cain starts seizing and screaming in the middle of the circle. So it's working. She uses his dad's willing soul to rebind to his so that his has something to like attach to and feed off of in a safe way so that hopefully it can like reintegrate into his body truly and then he will be human again. The power required for this level of intense work unravels like a nerve in her hand. So she loses, I think it's the 2 fingers. So she loses in her left hand use of like half of it basically. It works though, and Cain is alive. They get him out of the house and onto Amaris, and she's so sweet with him. She like gets down on the ground and like helps him get up onto her back. It's precious. Cain is mostly unconscious at this point. He's in a lot of pain, dealing with a lot of weird feelings now that his body is not undying anymore, but not quite human. He's sort of like going through the reversal now of what he went through in the beginning of part 2. Helena tells his dad that the array has to be destroyed so that nobody can know that he's alive, and they're able to say goodbye to each other. So the last moment between Cain and his dad is pretty sweet. It doesn't make up for everything, but he does say, your mother was always so proud of you. She said you were the best thing we ever made. Then he turned to Helena. Save him. And then they take off into the sky. So they fly off on Amaris while his dad goes into the house and burns it down with him inside. So all of the evidence is gone, and now him and Enid are reunited. Cain is unconscious for most of the flight, but then when they go to land, Amaris like dips really sharply, and Helena has never been super great at flying, so she almost falls off, and he has to catch her. Like he wakes up instantly and like catches her because he's insane. Amaris is a very smart girl though, so she got them where they needed to go without either one of them having to do anything, and they end up at this little safe hunting cabin. They fall into bed together and just pass out. Cain is dealing with those weird symptoms. Like I said, he's basically like reversing back into a human, so he feels like a human. Like his heart feels different, his magic feels different. There's more of like a strain on him that he can tell is getting worse as it starts to like unwind. She warns him that he needs to be unimaginably careful because the briefest amount of the toll could just shred his like, it's basically like a new soul in him. Like it's like a fresh soul. And she's like, if you are reckless in any way and the toll clicks on for you, you're gone because you're already weak. He promises to rest, and so they need to be traveling at night anyway, so they basically just sleep all day, fly at night with Amaris, and it's going well. Like they're getting away, everything seems to be fine. So Helena is of course very nervous because like this kind of stuff never goes well for them. They never feel safe like this. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's really hard for her to trust that nothing is going to go wrong. Even though he promises to be extra careful, he is nothing if not a little liar. So of course he heals her back completely, so she's totally fine now. It's okay though, it doesn't hurt him in any way, and they make it to Lila. The reunion is both really sweet, but also very strange for both of them because they both thought the other one was dead. And they were like, he's probably lying. Like on some level, neither one of them trusted him about this being true. And also it's very strange. There's all this lost time, so much has happened. happened. Lila was lying before. Now Helena can't tell her the truth about what happened to Luke. There's a baby. The baby looks like Luke. It's just a lot of emotions all at once. On her end, Lila is so happy to see her, but so upset that it's true that Helena and Cain are together. She's like, I can't believe you love him. That is so disgusting and awful and nasty. What are you talking about? Cain and Lila don't like each other at all, even after all these years and all the things he's done for them. So they straight up start trying to brawl in the front yard, and Helena has to be like, can y'all knock it off? She's able to meet the baby, who's not a baby. He's like a 2-year-old now. His name's Apollo, like his grandpa, which was really cute, and he does look just like Luke, so it's very hard for Helena to see him. They need to take a ship now to get to the like final destination of their journey, and Helena wants to take off the manacles that Lila is still wearing, and then also make her a new prosthetic leg. But Cain reveals that, like, sure, he can take the manacles off now that she's not going to kill him. And the leg has been on the property the whole time. He just hid it so that she would be inconspicuous because Lila can't be trusted to keep her own cover. They have to disguise Cain, so he dyes his hair back to brown and then dresses in, like, farmer clothes. And she's like, babe, that's never going to work. You are far too handsome. Absolutely not. She just says he looks ridiculous. So she's shocked by the hair, and he's so vain. I can't. Like, she sees him with the dark hair for the first time, and she's like, whoa, and he touches it immediately and is like, do you not like it? I can't with him. He's still worried. Even though Amaris has been such a good girl, he's very worried about her getting them caught, and so he knows that now that he's with them, the best thing to do would be to kill her. That way there's like no trace of them anywhere. So because theoretically somebody could like find Amaris, and then that would mean that like, oh, Cain might have made it out, and then people could come look for them, you know? But Helena is like, surely we can trust her to just go off on her own. Like, just send her away. That would be okay. And Cain is like, she's just an animal. It doesn't matter. She's just an animal. Like, telling himself that. Yeah, he can't do it. So he doesn't kill Amaris. They go to leave on the ship, and he tells Helena that like one day her compassion is going to get them in trouble. And also he can't really understand why he can kill so many people, but the animal is like what trips him up the most. And it's like, baby, because you're a good human. I don't know. It's conflicting. It's confusing. On the boat, they learn more about this current situation with the war and like what's going on. And they were right. Now that the High Reeve is gone, the other countries are finally moving in on Morrow and trying to help. So the war is basically on the way out. So they move onto a safe house on an island off of Etris. So it's where Helena's from, but not her like main home. I think she's from like the main island, and then there's like multiple broken off from it, and they live like on one of those now. So it's connected to the mainland by like a little water bridge situation, and it will be cut off most of the year from the main coastland. Helena feels super at peace because she loves the ocean, she loves the water, and that's why Cain picked that location for her, even though Lila and Apollo are kind of uncomfortable because that's like the polar opposite of what they're used to. And she just promises, you know, to like help them get used to it, help them learn how to swim and stuff like that, because that's like, they don't have any of that. The room that he set up for her inside the house is literally perfect. Like, it is like handcrafted for her. And she says that she can't help feeling like it's like this beautiful trap that he set, because he was trying to like get her to go away and then get her to stay wherever he sent her. So full stop, like he planned everything. He wanted it to be perfect so that she would never want to leave. It kind of upsets her in a way because she's like, it is a trap. He was trying to distract me from the fact that he got himself killed for me. But at the same time, like, she appreciates the effort he went into, and she also understands that like this is what he was doing to keep himself sane. So he sent some of this stuff before the end of the war, and then he also was preparing the house and the room and everything during the 2 years they were separated too. Like, if he thought of something for her, if he saw something he thought she might like, he just kept sending it in the hopes that maybe one day he really would find her and he could get her there finally. That's real sad. Like, that's so, what are you talking about? Despite both of their lingering nerves, they slowly accept that they were clever and careful and nobody is going to find them. They are okay. They can finally rest. And he is so unbelievably tired. he just sleeps for like a week straight. He only ever wakes up and moves if she gets out of the bed. So for days, once she feels better and rested, because she has been resting while they were traveling. He has not rested in like 6 years. Maybe even longer than that, probably like close to a decade. My man has not had a good night's sleep. So he is just unconscious in the bed, dead to the world. And then anytime Helena does anything, she just like brings her books to the bed and like does her writing in the bed and eats in the bed with him. Like anything to keep him asleep, because he's got a long time to make up for. At one point, Lila comes in to check on them and he's still asleep, right, in the bed. And so her and Helena are just like whispering to each other. And she tells her that she's been thinking over everything, looking at the timeline, looking at their past. And she remembers when Helena started pulling away from the trio and how the trio talked about it and they missed her and they hoped that she was okay, but they were confused. And that is around the time when Kane said he started working with her. So she knows he's telling the truth now. She understands that it was reality. But also, Helena doesn't need to be trapped by that anymore. That's in the past now. So she tells her that, like, she knows that she made promises to Kane. She made promises to Lila. She made promises to Luke. She doesn't have to keep them anymore if she doesn't want to. They will be okay without her, and she can go on and do whatever she wants to do now. The war is over, and she should be free from all of them. They're going to be trapped on the island soon because the water bridge is going to flood, and so she just wants her to know that if she wants to leave, she can still do that right now and it will be okay. When Lila leaves, Helena's like, all right, you can stop pretending to be asleep, and Kane just like immediately opens his eyes and just is already looking at her, and she's like, you can't seriously think that I'm only here with you because of old promises. Like, you dumbass, I want to be with you. Of course I want to be with you. Why would I want to be anywhere else? We're together, we're happy, can we just enjoy it? And he agrees because, like, he made old promises too. It's just so funny to me the way that, like, they feel so similarly, but neither one of them expects the other person to be doing that, even though they know they're so similar. I'm like, guys, you feel the exact same way about each other. Move on. While they're settling in, the land bridge is flooded. They are alone on this island in the basically middle-ish of the ocean, okay? Amaris just shows up. Yeah, she tracked them. She loves Kane so much. When he goes outside, she does the thing where she's like, please don't be mad at me, like a little dog, where she's like crawling to him on her stomach and like whining. And he's like, you're insane. How did you get here? Oh my God. But he's so happy. Like, he's so happy to see her. So they have to keep her in the stable because obviously they cannot have a demon wolf bird thing flying around all the time, but she does get to stay with them. So they did get Amaris back, and I think that that's really special. Everyone struggles to adjust to this new life because not one of them knows how to be chill about anything, right? So Lila's worried about the war, Helena is worried about Kane, and Kane is so insanely obsessed with her. He's got nothing else to worry about now, so all his obsessive focus just narrows in on Helena, and he is so unhinged. Back to how he was in like that midpoint of part 2 when he admitted that he liked her, but like worse, so much worse. It unfortunately means that he is initially really not worried about the baby. Like, Helena's thinking about the baby and their life and what they're gonna do now, and he just doesn't give a shit. Like, he's only worried about Helena specifically. She makes him promise one night that he has to care for the daughter the way that Helena would care for the daughter. He cannot be like his dad. He has to be normal about this and be a good parent. Since all 3 of them are Vivimancers, they don't have to call anybody else in for the birth, so they have the baby at the house. And even then, there was like a moment where Lila asks him, like, oh, do you want to catch the baby? And he says no, because his whole focus is like, is Helena gonna make it through this birth or not? Because again, his mom had all those issues with him, so he's nervous. And I guess, you know, Helena's mom did too. Like, it's a mutual family trait that, like, the vivimancy is dangerous, and they know that. So he's just completely focused on her. But the baby is born, Enid is totally fine and healthy and normal, and there's nothing wrong. So now there's 2 little kids growing up on the island, and Apollo and Enid are best friends. So close to each other, they just love each other. They grow up like siblings, kind of. That's gonna get complicated because of course it is, but they best friends. Best friends. The war is still slowly falling apart. It's not completely over yet. It's like done, but Morrow's not dead. So he escapes capture and all the other people start getting punished, but he's still in the wind missing. Lila cracks out over this and is like, I have to go back. I have to go handle that, because she's the last one left from that group, and she knows that it's what she needs to do to avenge not only her family, but Luke's family and the legacy that they all built. She wants to avenge it and also admit that they were wrong and move forward into something new. So that's her plan, is to go back and try to win the war and then start fresh in Palladia. This means leaving Apollo behind, because he can't go back right now. It would be so unsafe for him. And there's obviously a risk of her dying, but she's leaving him with Cain and Helena, so he would be taken care of if something did happen. Helena sends all of her research with Lila, and then Cain also trains her in the best ways to fight a Vivimancer, so that hopefully she has a better chance of defeating Morrow. This is when Helena really realizes like the proof of how intensely he was trying to kill Morrow and bring him down from the inside, because he knows so much. So it's going to be very helpful. Lila makes it back. She joins the effort to fight. She tracks Morrow into a tunnel system that he's hiding in, which is that same, you know, mess that we saw Cain take Helena down into at one point. So she tracks him through there. It goes south really quickly. Everybody else pulls back and runs away from the fight. Lila refuses to stop. She goes in. She comes out with Morrow's dead body. That's my girl. They immediately try to make her Principate, and they want her to take over and rule the city. And she's like, that's not what we're doing anymore. That's over. And she does keep up her word. And so she gives a voice to all the people of the war, all the different groups, everybody that was helpful. She insists that Vivimancy be put into the Institute as a like recognized branch of study, so that everyone can actually go from now on, and they basically just start rebuilding the city from scratch. While Lila is gone, the kids get even more attached to each other, and Cain and Helena are both like, that's gonna end badly, because obviously Apollo is gonna go back with Lila at some point, and it's very obvious that Enid is like Cain and Helena. So she's obsessed with that little boy, and she's obsessed with being his best friend, and she wants to take care of him, and she wants him to take care of her, and they cannot be separated. But they're about to be separated. There's no way to clear Cain's name, so while Lila wants Helena to go back with her and start over, teach Vivimancy at the Institute, help things be rebuilt, Helena's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. She's not gonna leave him. She's not gonna leave the kid. Like, their life now is on this island, and that's all that matters to her. She is so beyond tired of trying to like fix things back where they're from. It doesn't matter. She is home. She has her family. That's what she wants from here on out. Lila got on my nerves a little bit here, because even after years at this point of Cain proving himself and trying to do better, doing better, taking care of them, handling all this stuff, and if nothing else, really and truly loving Helena and Enid, like taking care of his girls, Lila is still just like, I think you deserve better than him. I think you could do better. I think you should give up on this and leave him behind. Goodbye. Helena hits her with, I'm not going to leave him. There's no version of me that survived the war without Cain. I was loyal to Luke, and I know you want Palladia to remember him, but that country killed him as much as Morrow did. I can't go back to it. And then Lila has her own monologue, and she says, you're all I have left besides Pole, which is what they call Apollo. I know you love Cain, and he loves you. I don't deny that, but I don't think you realize how inhumanly cold he is to anyone who isn't you or E. The rest of the world could burn, and he wouldn't care. I don't think he'd even notice. Is this really what you want? I know what he's like, Helena said sharply. It's the reason you and I are alive. I'm saying, like, y'all need to get it together. And then she, like, shuts it down completely by being like, love isn't as pretty or pure as people like to think. There's a darkness in it sometimes. Cain and I go hand in hand. I made him who he is. I knew what that array meant when I saved him. If he's a monster, then I'm his creator. Which is true, but also, like, you know, it is what it is. The kids say goodbye as well, which was so sad. It's horrible. But they do, there's a dog. They have a dog named Cobalt. And so Apollo leaves Cobalt behind because he doesn't want to take him on the ship or, like, bring him into the city. he just leaves him so that Enid has something to take care of, right? And so he tells her, please take care of the dog for me. We will see each other again. We're still best friends. This doesn't matter. And we're kind of, it's never like stated how they keep in touch, but I assume they wrote letters and stuff because they stay friends, right? Like even though they're gonna grow up in different continents, they're gonna still talk. So it's fine. They're gonna be fine. Then we start jumping into epilogue time. So we get a brief scene from 4 years later. The Farrens live alone on the island now. Enid is quieter than she was when Apollo was there, but she's still really curious. She's still really creative. She's very smart. Her resonance is powerful. She's clearly their child, you know, like she got all the best traits from both of them. She does start to ask some questions about the war. So she sees the holes in Helena's wrists and wants to know what those mean. And Helena has to start sort of explaining to her. And we know that they're going to tell her the truth, but she's only like 6 at this point. So they haven't told her everything yet, but she's starting to like be curious. At this point, Cain has occasionally gone on flights with Amaris to stretch her wings. And then Helena finds out that Stroud was just randomly killed where she'd been hiding. She got away, right, at the end of the war. And so she just died. She just drowned in a pool of water in the land she was hiding out in. So Helena immediately confronts Cain and is like, I know you fucking did that. You took Amaris and you fucking did that. What were you thinking? And he admits it instantly. He's like, yeah, of course I did. Of course I did. I could not let her live once I found out where she was. And Helena's like, how'd you find out where she was? And he's like, girl, I've been looking into things the whole time. So he never stopped being a little detective freak. He just was still looking for all this stuff and still trying to handle it. Such a mess, such a freaking mess. This moment though, he does sort of say that he'll stop because Stroud was like the last person they were looking for. And it's like, how convenient that now it's over and you can say you'll stop, because he would not have stopped otherwise. One thing these two are going to do is lie to each other. I'm just saying. One more 10 years later moment. Enid is traveling back to the Institute to start her studies. This is the first time that Cain and Helena are ever going to be alone since the war. They can just be together now without any other pressure, and like neither of them knows what to do. There's a very cute moment where she says to him like, you know why she's really going back, right? And he's like, and they sort of like unspokenly admit that she's of course going for Apollo because they're in love and they're gonna be together and it's really cute. They truly don't let go of anything ever. This family is cursed. For the epilogue, we switch over to Enid's POV and we see her arrive in the city and see Lila and Apollo for the first time. It's clear the kids are still super close. There's like this flirty element to it now because they're both older. They run into Penny again and she thinks that Enid is Helena. That's how much she looks like her. And then realizes like, oh my God, of course not. Like Helena died. And it's like a very sad moment where Lila's like, no, this is this other girl, but she's from where Helena's from. So that's probably why they look alike. Lila and Apollo are like very popular in the city, even though they're not in charge of anything. I think Lila is running the Institute and stuff, but they're not in a place of like power, you know, they're just sort of like beloved. And Enid's not about that life. She doesn't want to deal with the crowds or the paparazzi or anything like that. So she sort of wanders away from them, sneaks into a bookshop and meets a clerk who is another one of the repopulation babies. So they have like a little unspoken moment. She can't say who she is, obviously, but she knows that like they're connected in that way. She reads a book about the war that's like an expose, basically, kind of detailing all the different main characters and all the battles and stuff like that. And of course, the stuff about Cain is horrific. They call him the most infamous mass murderer in history, which is true. Also the youngest to join Morrow's Undying. He was 16 when he assassinated Apollo. Not only was he the youngest to ascend, but he went on to become the youngest individual to achieve the rank of general during the war. His proficiency as an alchemist and a vivimancer was widely regarded as unnatural and the result of the horrific human experimentation that came to define the Undying's regime. But unlike most of Bennett's subjects, Farron's participation was voluntary. Incorrect. They go on to detail how most of the Undying like retired after the war was over, but Cain stayed on and went and hunted the other resistance members and did whatever kind of atrocities Morrow wanted because he enjoyed it and he liked the power. There's even a quote that says, Cain Farron was a monster long before Morrow ever reached Palladia. Joining the Undying simply enabled a born psychopath to indulge in his cruelty, and when even immortality could not sate his sadistic impulses, he submitted himself to brutal experimentation to achieve his ends. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. So, yeah, she's reading that about her dad in this bookstore, and then Apollo shows up, sees what she's reading, and is like, girl, put that down. Oh my God, why would you look at that? It's all lies. He knows the truth, obviously, and it hurts him just as much, but then he also doesn't want her to be overwhelmed with what people are saying about Cain because it's not true. She is like, one thing about me and my parents, we need to know everything at all times. So I need to be prepared for what they're going to be saying about him. I can't help it. I have to know. She flips around in the book trying to find Helena, and whatever she finds makes her so upset because she's like, it's so unfair that they remember my dad as this like horrible, horrific monster, and they don't even care about my mom. Like, she's barely a footnote in these books because nobody knows the truth about what they actually did and how much they gave up and how much they went through. And she feels like, especially for Helena, like she needs to set the record straight so that she's not forgotten like this. Apollo reminds her that Lila wanted to tell the truth, but they just couldn't at the time because it wasn't safe. And so we're kind of left with this feeling that probably one day Enid will tell the truth, but she's gonna wait until Cain and Helena are both gone in order for that to happen. Enid worries that there's a chance that it'll only ever be Apollo and Lila that know her, because everybody else she's like pretending with at all times, and that's kind of why she doesn't want to be around people. She just stays with them. And Apollo is like, well, you will always have me though, like I will forever be here for you. And so then they have this moment of like, forever? And it's like, it was really cute. It was a nice like hopeful ending to the book. But then they ruin it by bringing us back, like we sort of like camera pan away from Enid and Apollo while they walk out of the shop down to the book that she left open on the page about Helena, and this is what it reads. This is the very end of the book. It's a description of the picture included. Lucian Holdfast and Soren Bayard and foreign-born alchemist Helena Marino. Marino left the city at the start of the Palladian Civil War to study healing. She survived the war, but died during imprisonment prior to liberation. She was a non-active member of the Order of the Eternal Flame and did not fight. There's the picture that they took on Solstice that one time. Yeah. Let's talk. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of issues with this book. Here's the thing. I think people should be allowed to write about whatever they want to write about. And if you read this book and you think it's an R-word fantasy and that grosses you out, okay, that's not the book for you then. You shouldn't read this book. That's not how I felt when I read it. It didn't give me that vibe. Even if it had, I still think we can't be like, this book should not have been written. This book is gross and bad and awful. You know, that's your opinion and that's fine. But I don't think we should be putting limits on stuff like that. This is a war book. She told us it was a war book. She told us it was gritty and sad and scary and awful. And it was, you know? Like, so let's just read the trigger warnings. And if you don't want to read it, don't read it. Just don't read it, right? That part of the book bothered me the least. The issues that I have with the book, first and foremost, I think it's way too long. Way too long. And I know in my heart of hearts, I feel like that is probably coming from the fic being long, because if you're anywhere near fanfiction world, fics are long a lot of the times, right? They're much longer than traditionally published works, okay? That's kind of just like a running theme because fanfic writers aren't under any kind of constraints. We can do as much as we want to do. Nobody's in control but us, okay? We could just go on and on and on forever if we wanted to, and it's fine. That's totally fine. This is trad publishing though. And so this is a very long book to lock in on. And I think what bothers me is that it's not just that it's long, it's that it's repetitive. And there are so many scenes, especially, and I know because my part 2 video, right? There's so many moments where I'm like, and again, Kane's upset, and again, Kane's upset. And wouldn't you know it, he's upset again, because it's just like over and over again. They're in the same situation, they're running into the same, whether it's like the avoidant tendencies, the abandonment wounds they have, they just keep happening over and over and over again. And there's no conversation about it, is again what bothers me, because there's obviously a lot of work in here about it, like PTSD and attachment styles and like their past and stuff, and how that would like affect them moving forward, their families affecting them moving forward, but nobody talks about it. Like, I know that stuff because I know that stuff, and then I'm reading the book and I can apply it, you know what I mean? They don't really reach any state of like understanding or coming to terms with it. Like, in the end, Kane is just allowed to be obsessive and clingy and a little unhinged. More than a little unhinged, honestly. Like, that's just where we end up with him, is that he's obsessed with her. That's the end of the book for him. And then with Helena, it's like she either puts up with it. Why is my computer taking off? And then Helena is just sort of in this situation of like, you know, either she puts up with it or she leaves, but can she leave him? I don't think she can. I think they're so trauma bonded that they're stuck with each other. Like, there is no getting out of what they get into together. And I do think that they end up in this like the ending, you know, like right before the epilogue and everything, it seems like they reach this state of peace, and that's beautiful. This whole book, and we don't get to see any of that. We don't get to see any of it. I just feel like I would have appreciated the tiniest bit more of the ending, like being a little bit more fleshed out, and getting some of that part 2 treatment where it's like we see so many moments. And I like it. I like the flashbacks, right? It's not that I don't. I wish they weren't as repetitive, but I like that style of like seeing them just be alive together and having more domestic moments and things in part 2. And I wish we got that in part 3. I wish there was just a little bit more explicitly told to us so that we could see them, because one of our last moments with the two of them is him going against what he told her he would do and putting himself in danger again and lying again in order to get Stroud dead. Like, it, I don't know if I'll reread. I certainly don't think I'll reread the whole thing. There were definitely moments of the book that I really enjoyed. It broke me out of a reading slump, which is what I needed it to do, and I was very happy about that. And I appreciate it for what it is, right? I've also seen a lot of people talking about sort of the rise of like fan fiction turning into trad published works. And I've seen a lot of people say that like the magic system, the world building in here, if you don't know HP at all, you're shit out of luck. You're not going to get this at all. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the world building was a little messy. Not gonna lie, but it wasn't any messier than other fantasies that are out there right now. You don't need to know about the Death Eaters to understand the Necromancer's army, okay? You'll be fine. And then the magic system, I enjoyed it. Did it get annoying reading Resonance so often? A little bit, yeah. But why is that any more annoying than reading magic every other paragraph? You know, like, it's just a different word that she used. Like, so I don't know. I think people in some ways are just sort of complaining to complain. And again, we're all allowed our own opinions. So I'm not trying to say that we're not allowed to be complaining about it, but it did feel a little bit that there was a little bit of it that was just sort of like, and it's a bad book because it's related to HP. It's not related to HP anymore. This is a totally reworked thing, okay? Having read both, they're similar, they're not identical. I liked as well, just so we end on a positive note, I enjoyed the humor. I thought there were multiple parts that made me laugh out loud. Especially, I liked the darker humor in the moments where we probably weren't supposed to laugh. But I think about that part where Sebastian is like, Luke, what baby? All the time. That was so funny. There were so many moments that I could see being on screen. And that whole moment with Luke and Sebastian and her in the little storage room, that was a great one. The battle sequence where Soren dies would be so good visually. Like it just, there were moments that were really great. I think I just wish it had been shortened and tightened up, because I think there were scenes that could be easily combined and then they wouldn't feel as repetitive. And that's an issue, you know, for the editing team. Like that should have just been more workshopped, in my opinion. But I think it's a beautiful book all in all, and there's some really, really lovely writing in it. We knew that, like we knew that she's a gorgeous writer. I knew that going in, that I was gonna like her prose style and stuff like that. I like the way she describes things for the most part. So yeah, I think there were pacing issues, and I think there were repetitive issues, and that's my big takeaway from it on what I didn't like and what I wish had been different. The story itself, the grittiness of the story, the themes explored in it, I think all of that works and is good, especially because it is a dark fantasy. It's a war book. That's what it's supposed to be, okay? And I think maybe we did a little bit of a disservice pitching it as like this like intense dark romance, because that's not what it is. That's gonna do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below if you read the book. What are your thoughts on it? If you just listened to me recap, how do you feel about the ending? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!